Let's talk about the books I read in April. Hi readers, it's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper, or welcome if this is your first time. This is one of my favorite videos to do each month, although I am really a little distressed about the fact that it is April already. I feel like this year has just flown by and I wasn't completely present for it. But I know I was. It's just time. Time is a thief sometimes. But I did manage to finish 6 books in the month of April. I felt good about that. And so let's talk about what they were. So we'll start with stats. I read 2,404 pages this month, which my average time to finish these books was 13 days. I really did find that a lot of these were not as quick paced for me, and I'm pretty certain that was me and not the books. Although in one case I DNF'd right at the end, so I'm still counting it as read because I read a good bit of it, but I just couldn't at some point. I couldn't. In fact, I DNF'd a couple of other books pretty early on. So I'm not calling it a slump. I just think that either the books just really weren't for me at this time, or I just wasn't getting into them. There's at least one that I don't think I will go back and finish. Nevertheless, it was a good reading month overall. I was mostly in the category of a mysterious mood this month, with the next one being tense and then dark. And then a little bit of lighthearted, a little bit of funny, a little bit of emotional, and a very little bit of reflective or hopeful. So that's interesting. Maybe that was part of it, is the books that I was reading weren't necessarily upbeat, but there you go. It just is what it is. So they were medium paced 67% of the time, and 33% felt like they were fairly fast paced. 67% of them were also between 300 and 500 pages, and then 33% were less than 300. So it was a good size reading experience for sure, but I did not read any of my big book choices this last month. That is still something that I'm noodling over. And I realized the other day when I did my TBR pile of possibilities for May, I didn't include a big book, and I feel like I do need to go back and do that. There was one that I was close to finishing at the end of the month, but I just didn't quite get there. So I've already finished that one for this month, and that was good because it's for my book club tonight. So I wanted to make sure that it was complete. And all of the books I read in the month of April were fiction, which isn't always the case, but it's mostly the case recently. I just don't read a lot of nonfiction, and I don't know why. I'd like to kind of shift that a little bit as well. I did end up reading my one book of the month, so that was good. I met that part of my yearly goal as well, so that made me happy. I had 2 arcs this last month, so that was fun. And 2 of the higher categories in this case aren't going to surprise you because of the stats, but a thriller and mystery were the ones that I read the most of. I read 2 of those fell in both of those categories. I read one that's speculative fiction, in my mind anyway, dystopian and magical realism, a little bit of that. One of them was a short story, so probably some people wouldn't have counted it as a read, but I did. So there's that. I get to make the rules, I guess. One of them was science fiction, romance, literary, fantasy, and contemporary. So those were all the ones, but for the most part, mystery thrillers this month. I read 67% of the books this month in digital form, partly because some of these I read in tandem, either on ebook or physically. So that was true for me. And so 33% of them were print. But I'm really embracing the Kindle. It's a faster way for me to read. And if I can get it on a Kindle and read it physically. I usually do a combination of both these days, and audios are less likely for me to complete. I actually have two books that I've started that are incomplete. One of them is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. Is that it? Charlotte McConaughey. That's it. I have not finished Wild Dark Shore. I'm really struggling with that one, I have to say. And then I also am about 100 pages left, maybe a little bit less than that, of Hampton Heights by Dan Coy. This is the weirdest book. Maybe one of the weirdest books I've read ever. So stay tuned for my May reading wrap up, because I'm going to finish this for sure, but it was weird. So I read that one. That's one of the ones I chose to read for Old School April. It's just hard for me to get through because it's so weird. Let's talk about what I did read in the month of April, shall we? Okay, so the first one I completed, I had started in March. That's The Dream Hotel by Layla Leilami, or Lalami. This one was a most anticipated read for me. It was very hyped around the circles that I follow, and it was something that I was really thinking I would love. And I did not love it. I did enjoy it. It was very well written. I haven't given it a rating yet on Goodreads or Storygraph. I know that it is not a 5-star read for me. I think it's more like a 3.5 to 4. This one is also one of the selections, I think, for the Booker Prize. And I mean, this one has gotten a lot of buzz. It's also weird, but not I guess it's not what I thought it was going to be. So this is about a woman whose name is Sarah, and she is a new mom. She has twin young babies, and her husband is helpful with those children, and she's off on a trip for work, and she arrives back at LAX, and she's detained because there's something going on, and they're like really super carefully checking her passport and making her wait, and she has no idea why. It just feels like she's in trouble some way, but there's no trouble. She's taken nothing. She's, not confiscated anything. She's just coming back in as she normally would. And then it turns out that they detain her and they put her in this place called the Dream Hotel, where she and a number of other women are detained. And she's unsure of exactly what happened and why she's there. However, in this dystopian world, there is a device that is implanted in people's brains so that they are able to monitor. This organization called the Risk Assessment Administration is able to monitor her and understand what her thoughts are. And so they've arrested her based on what she's been dreaming about or thinking about, which makes it very difficult for her to defend herself because of this thing that they have created. It's really not exactly like it was billed in the synopsis to me. And so here's what I think about it. I liked the plot. I liked the way the characters were developed. I enjoyed the fact that it had this sort of creepy vibe to it, but also that there was a group of women that were kind of getting to know each other and trying to figure out why they were all in there and trying to support each other or to stay safe from each other, because it was really like a prison, essentially. I also enjoyed the writing very much. It was very well written, and I really thought that it was well done. I just wanted it to be a little faster, and it just felt like it took way, way, way too long. It did end up picking up at the end, and I guess I was satisfied with the way that it resolved, but I don't know. It was just not what I had anticipated, but I'm glad that I read it. I'm grateful that I got it. I got it from Tertulia. They do a reading salon for members each quarter, maybe something like that. And this was the one that I asked for, and this was the one that they sent me, and I'm happy that they did. Ruman Alam blurbed it and really liked it, and I loved Ruman Alam's book as well. He wrote Leave the World Behind, and I think he has a new one out recently. I really wanted to kind of get to that. So I would say that it's a comp to that author because it is a really weird plot, and it is, but his was short and faster paced for me. And again, not everybody loves this book, not everybody loves his book. So I think I think most people will like it. I just don't know that a lot of people will love it. So I guess for me, it will be a 3.5, maybe 4. I don't know. I'm still thinking. It was very well done. And I think what's hanging me up too is that it was, it was in these book prizes. And so it's really a very important novel and it's really well liked. It's just, is it me? Like it could be me. Like really could be me. I got hung up on it. I really did. Then on my Kindle, I read Worst Wingman Ever by Abby Jimenez, which is the Improbable Meet Cute book number 2. And these are short stories. So there's not a lot of meat here, but it was a quick palate cleanser for me after the Dream Hotel because this was so heavy. It was really, really heavy. So this one is about a man and a woman who are introduced to each other because of a Valentine that is put on the wrong car. And the person who receives the Valentine is unsure of why this is happening. And so then this conversation begins between the two of them, and they are sort of getting to know each other via correspondence, which to me is a not unique plot, but it's one that I like. And it is not an enemies to lovers. They've never met, but sort of supporting each other and getting to know each other. I'm not going to tell you what happens at the end because it's a surprise, but I loved how it ended. I like that Abby Jimenez brings real life problems into her characters. So it's not just about the romance. It's not just about the connection. It's really about what they're also going through in their own lives. So those are very well developed, even in a short story. I did not add an Abby Jimenez to the pile of possibilities for this month, but I got to tell you, I can't wait to get to these books that I have of hers behind me because I really like her and I really am glad that I have found her as a romance author because I think she and a couple other people have really helped to turn the tide for me around reading romance. But this one is really good and I really enjoyed it and I highly recommend it if you like to read shorts, little, I don't even know if this would be considered a novella. Let me see how many pages it is. 61 pages. So I guess so, but yeah, it's definitely easy to read and a nice little step away from something heavier, which I needed for sure. Then I read The Suspect by Fiona Barton. And to think about it, this is the Kate Waters series number 3. I had read the first 2. So this is, I think, the end of this series, but maybe she has another one coming out. This is old. This came out in 2019. So this is a backlist read for me. I'm super excited I got this one done. Had it on Kindle since the beginning, I think, since it came out, and I just never got to it. Fiona Barton is a good mystery author. The Kate Waters series was solid so far. I've felt the same way about pretty much each of them, I think. This one was interesting for me. So it was set in Thailand, essentially, although both parents and kids are in 2 different places. So let me set this up for you. Alexandra O'Connor is a young, I think she's either about to go into college or she's in college, early days. She wants a trip to Thailand. Her and her best friend are going to go to Thailand because they want to get away and do something exotic. And her other best friend chickens out or says at the last minute she can't afford it. I can't remember what. But anyway, she doesn't go. But she's replaced by another friend of theirs who's not really a good friend, but they know who she is. Her name is Rosie. So Rosie says, "Oh, I'll go." And Alexandra's parents and Rosie's parents, I think, live equidistantly from each other, and they are not necessarily, though, good friends. So the girls go off to this trip in Thailand, and Alex starts posting on social media about all the things that they're doing and the fun that they're having, and it just looks like this great time. But it's not a great time because she's actually scared. Rosie is very loose and and her behaviors are very precarious, and they're drinking a lot. She's drugging a little bit, and Alex is just really not into this experience. She's meeting other people along the way. They're living in this horrible environment with this woman who's like the landlady, and it's just creepy, icky, not working out the way she anticipated. They're running out of money. Just not a good experience. Meanwhile, her parents, for a while, think that everything's fine. Everything's fine. But then the parents are all informed that the girls have died. And Kate Waters is trying to help investigate this, and she's trying to interview the parents, and she's trying to get a leg up on this whole experience so she can get a story, because she's a reporter. Her boss is really pushing for her to get this story, right? But then she discovers that her son is somehow involved in this, and he's supposed to be living overseas too, but he's not where he said he was, and he's not doing what he said he was doing. And so now Kate's really concerned about her own child. And then, of course, they're all trying to figure out what happened to these girls. I really did enjoy this. I am glad that I read it. I'm glad that I finished this one. And did I rate this one? I gave it 3 stars. But again, 3 stars for me is good. It's solid. The writing was good. It was plotted well. I did keep up with it pretty much. Pretty quickly, I would say. I read it. And yeah, that one is a solid, good read for sure. The Lost Bookshop, Evie Woods. I was reading it for Krista's book club read, and I did finish it for Krista's book club read, but I didn't get to participate in the book club. So now I'm going to try to find the recording. I think it was her Patreon book club, but I'm not certain. This one is written by, again, I think I said Evie Woods, or Evie Goggin is also listed under the title. So I'm not sure if she has 2 names or what's happening with that. But this one I read pretty quickly. I read it in 4 days. This was also a Kindle for me. I had borrowed it on Kindle, I think, and really would say that this one surprised me because it's pretty magical in some ways too. It's a bit of a fantasy mystery. So that's not usually something I read, but here I read it, right? I did give this one 4 stars. I liked it that much. So let me try to do the setup for this because I don't want to give too much away, but it is also very complex. It's 2 timelines, present day, and then it goes back, but it's set in Dublin, which I appreciated. And Martha is escaping her abusive husband, and she finds refuge in the home of Madame Bowden, where she also then connects with a man who happens to come up to this house, and he sees her in the basement where she lives, and they end up chatting, and they end up creating a relationship, and she and Madame Bowden also develop a relationship. I really liked the way these characters developed, and I really liked them for the most part. There was one character I didn't like, which essentially is the husband of Martha, but I really enjoyed it. And their connection is to this bookstore, a bookstore that is there at one point and then they can't see it the next point. So very interesting, very related to writing, to rare books, to the exploration of bookstores and what they bring. And it was just a book about books, which of course I love, but also it was fantastical. And I usually, stay away from that. But in this case, it really worked for me. So who knows? This might be the year that I embrace the fantasy. I don't know, but I really did enjoy it. And I think it's not hard to figure out the way that the timeline is moving. It just, you just kind of have to get in the groove of it. You know how sometimes they just go back and forth and you're like, oh yeah, no, I got it now. But it took a while. There were a number of characters, but not too many to overwhelm me, which is also usually a problem. But then I read Murder by Cheesecake. Murder by Cheesecake by Rachel Ekstrom Courage. I think it's Courage. I really wanted to love this book. It was an arc for me as well. I was very excited about it. Golden Girls retelling kind of situation where Rose's niece is going to get married and Rose is trying to prepare all the food and all the things for the reception, including the cheesecake. The cheesecake is a big part of this. It's a character in and of itself in this particular novel. So the Golden Girls are trying to help Rose not freak out about all the things that have to happen for this particular wedding. Meanwhile, Dorothy starts dating a man that she met, I think, through a blind date or something like that. They didn't know each other, and they meet up, and it's a great chemistry. She's really, really excited about this guy, but then something happens and he just kind of stops, responding, and he's just not what she thought he would be. And then when they start to go into the actual events around the wedding, they find a dead body around the cheesecake area of the freezer. I think I told you in another video, but the banter back and forth was very redundant. Rose was over the top Rose from the show. I mean, she had her Rose-isms as she did in the Golden Girls episodes, but it was almost like it was way too much. It just went way too far and it just wasn't funny anymore. And it was sort of getting in the way of the development, in my mind, of the development of the plot. It just didn't move. It just took forever, it seemed like, for anything different to happen. And these conversations with all of these Norwegian Rose-isms were just getting to be too much. So I did review it. It was not badly written. It was, the author, it isn't, I'm not saying that I wouldn't read anything else by this author in particular, but I was really disappointed in this. And again, it could be me, could just be that I wasn't, in the mood for it. I'm not sure, but I just felt like if she said something else ridiculous, I was going to lose my mind. So, yeah, I think I gave that one. Did I rate it 2 stars? I don't think I've rated anything 2 stars in a while. I just, And then 2.5 for The Mystery of Time by Kayleigh Bradley, and I really thought I was going to love this. I really, really did. It just also did not move as fast as I wanted it to. This is a story about a woman who is a member of the ministry, and she is assigned to a man named Graham Gore, who's from the past. She's supposed to acclimate him to the current situation, and what they're trying to do is defy history, and it's a genre-bending kind of experience where I thought it was going to maybe have Outlander vibes. I thought it was really, everybody was seemingly liking it, and then I started seeing people who didn't like it. So there's a lot of mixed reviews on this one. It's not badly written. There's nothing wrong with the writing. It's just so slow. I just could not do it. This came out in May of 2024, so it was also a backlist read for me. It's a book of the month club read for me, but gosh, I wanted to like that more. I'm going to be unhauling that, so stay tuned. I'll tell you where I'd end up doing that. And then the last one was Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, which is a library read, obviously, and I had this on my shelves for a long time as well. It came out in 2022, I think, and I did enjoy this one a lot. I did have a combination of, was it audio on this? But I finished it late in the month. 10 hours, 7 minutes. Can you stop a murder that's already happened? So what happens in this one is that this attorney is the mom of a 17-year-old son, and she and her husband are happily married, have been for since before the son was born, and she is waiting for him to come home one night. He's a little bit late. He doesn't come home, and she wakes up to discover that he's killed somebody on the street and she has no idea why he would do this, and it's just very mysterious and terrifying. What then happens though is she goes back in time, and she continues to go back in time to revisit the days before this occurs. She keeps waking up and it's the day before yesterday. And so every day she wakes up another day before the murder, and she ends up trying to figure out what would make him have done this, and is there a way for her to intervene, maybe for it to happen differently? It was quite interesting. I will say, though, that again, this is me. My partner read it right after I did. And as I was watching her read it and I was thinking about it, I was like, do I even remember how this ended up? So I may have to read the last couple of pages again before I send it back to the library, because I'm not sure I retained that, which is crazy. But I also think this is because my partner did not have the same problem remembering all these things as I did. I think that if I had read it as she did in a 2-day sitting, it probably would have been easier, because every time I would come back, I'd have to remember what happened before. And I remember finding myself like going back to find out what happened before. So I think that that's part of it, but there were also, I did listen to it because I remember being in the car on the way to the doctor. I was going to say, I had that sort of moment where I was really struggling with my mental health, and so that probably didn't help. So I would probably read this again at some point in my life, or maybe just read the ending again so I'm firm on what happened. But I do want to maybe get to Famous Last Words. She's written a number of other books, and she's very well liked. And I think that she's an author that I will continue to read. This one was good. I gave it 4 stars. And yeah, it was a very unique plot, and I think that that's what really made it for me, was that, she kept going back and she kept learning more and more about a lot of people that are in this novel and what was happening with them, and a relationship with her dad pops up in there. And so it was really well developed. It was really interesting. It really did keep my attention when I had the time to be able to pay attention and have the brain power to be able to pay attention. But it does have a lot of characters. There were times where I was like, I don't know who that is. She also wrote a book called Just a Missing Person, which might be as well a possibility for me. But yeah, I think I would definitely read this author again. Let me know if you read this and what you thought about it. And if you read Famous Last Words, let me know about that too, because I've heard some people really aren't keen on that one, and some people really are. So that's how we all are, right? And again, it's kind of where you are in your life, where your brain is in the moment, where your attention span is. There's just a lot of factors in these books. So even if I rated them 2 stars, which, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with this book for you to read. I would encourage you to read any of these if they seem like books that you would enjoy. Let's just say that. I think you should give it a shot. So let me know what you read in the month of April. Let me know if you had trouble in the month of April too, because I do know from watching some booktubers and talking to some friends that I'm not the only one who had a bit of a weird April. So maybe it was the planetary vibes. I don't know. Maybe it was the Office of Risk Assessment or whatever they were called. Who knows? But I definitely think that April was a unique reading month, and I'm hoping that May turns out a little bit better all around. So let me know if you've read these. Let me know if you're going to read these. Let me know what you read in April. And as always, happy reading. Bye.